Well, good afternoon, College of Eastern Idaho. It's noon on October 29th. It's a Friday, and having Fernando with us is going to be a big treat. So Fernando Sandoval is our senior coordinator for Job Corps. Mm-hmm. And you're a little bit behind the scenes. You're in Building 3 here, mm-hmm. and maybe not in the mainstream. So a lot of what we want to do is introduce you both to the college and to anybody watching in the community. The Job Corps is new to us, and we'll have you get into that probably a little over a year, but it has had such great impact. It does a number of wonderful things. So we're going to spend this 45 minutes kind of going through those topics. So Fernando, you the way we always do this is to let you have the floor and tell us a little bit about yourself. Kind of do the background and set the foundation, and we'll dig into Job Corps then.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thanks for having me. So a little bit about myself. I'm from the area, grew up here, went to Skyline High School. Then I graduated from ISU both for undergrad and my master's program. I got my MPA.
Okay.
And then ever since then, I've been kind of working around the state and local nonprofit areas. So started off on a campaign, and then I got a job with Community Council of Idaho. Mm-hmm. That was in 2013 when the ACA rolled out. So I did a lot of outreach and enrollment for the ACA. I did that for a few years. Then I got promoted to the development director position, where I helped with grant writing and fundraising for that group. Really cool experience. Learned a lot about grant writing, fundraising efforts. Super challenging job to raise funds for a nonprofit, but I learned a lot and it was really cool. Got to be part of a capital campaign. That was exciting to build a clinic over here, just like a mile away, the community family clinic.
Oh, right. Good.
So that was cool.
Great experience.
Mm-hmm. It was really awesome to be part of that. And then I took some time away from that, worked for the state for a little bit. And then I saw that this job opened up and I felt it was a really good fit. And I've been here for about a little over a year. So.
Yeah, well, it's been a good fit. There's no question about that. And you've got a broad background, which helps too, because this isn't a real defined job at mm-hmm. all. I think as we delve into this a bit, I think all of our viewers are going to recognize that it isn't well defined, but I think you've got a lot of autonomy to do some really good work for the kind of students that you're dealing with. And a good way to do this is, why don't you just describe who the students are that we're serving with Job Corps, and maybe intermesh, what is Job Corps? Where did it come from, and what's the expectations of it?
Sounds good.
Okay.
So Job Corps has been around for a long time at the federal level, pretty much since the 60s, with their model is very different than how we run it here. So they have the remote centers, or the centers, where the students live there, and they kind of breathe Job Corps 24/7, right? It's got a very structured program, a lot of trades, a lot of, most of them is, 2-year programs. So it's either getting you employed within 2 years or getting you to that next phase of training. And the way we're doing it here in Idaho is a little bit differently. It's pretty much taking that same model, but we just, the community colleges started doing the housing aspect of it. So mm-hmm. we're still kind of following the same guidelines and things like that. We just don't offer housing, which is, fits well with what CEI has, since we don't have dorms or anything like that. But really it's the same goals, same type of students. So it's students ages 16 to 24, it's a program that does help low income folks. So that's kind of the main requirements, low income and be within that age range. And then as far as how the students look, what's really cool about how we're doing it at CEI is we can help all kinds of students, because it's whatever you want to do here at the college. I think with Job Corps, a lot of people think, it's trades and things like that. And Of course it is. That's a big part of what we do. But students can also get their associates and go into a 4-year institution. So it's anything that's offered here at the College of Eastern Idaho. That's including the workforce training certificate. So if you want to learn how to code, you want to learn front end or back end development, we can help with that. So, and what Job Corps does, what the team does, is we provide support in a variety of ways. We provide financial support for students. And we also provide them with the tools and equipment they need for their program. So, for example, students that are in auto or light duty or heavy duty diesel, they have to purchase their own tools, which is significant cost. That means their financial aid may not cover that. We can cover the cost of that. And as long as they complete the program, they get to keep their tools as well.
Good.
So, but yeah, it's pretty much young folks that are looking to better their lives here at the College of Eastern Idaho. And then we just try to provide the support that they need. We also provide intensive case management. So every student gets a case manager that they have to meet with weekly to make sure that they're staying on track of all their grades. Students must maintain a C in all their classes and have no missing assignments. So that case manager is there to make sure that they're staying on track and really being like a cheerleader for them to hopefully that they have success while they're here.
It's really a perfect model, and a model that as a community college we want to use for all of our students if we had the resources for it. So this is an amazing program, and you really took it from the beginning. So there were no students when you started. How many do we have now, and where are you finding students? How are you recruiting students in this age range?
Sure. So right now, I think we have 35 students.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, it was a huge jump from last semester. And really the things that we do to recruit students is we try to go where they are. So we've developed relationships with the counselors from the local high schools. Pretty much all the high schools in our 9-county service area we've reached out to. That's kind of been our bread and butter. They've done a good job, especially seniors and juniors as they're getting ready to think about where they're going to college, and especially here at CEI where it's so cheap compared to going to ISU or some of these other schools. So it's a kind of a natural relationship to be like, okay, if you're looking to go to college, think about CEI. So that's really our biggest one. We obviously do InReach as well, where we try to be as active on campus as we possibly can. We go to things like when they have the counselor days out in the egg and things like that, or different events we try to have a presence at. And then we reach out to the different departments, the deans and things like that to let them know we're here. I give presentations to the general ed staff. Jordan, which is our workforce coordinator, he was just at heavy duty last week to give the word. So really it's a combination of high school outreach, going to them, and then InReach here, trying to talk to the different departments so that students that are already here know that we're here and the benefits that we can provide to them.
Are you reaching out to the Hispanic community? We had a really nice Hispanic youth conference last week at ISU, and I think that's a fertile ground for us.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. So Jordan was there to help volunteer. That's definitely a population that we reached out to. I forgot the lady's name, but it's she's in charge of the migrant liaisons at the different schools.
Oh, good. Okay.
So we had a big statewide meeting last, I think it was last semester, where we got to provide some information, and that was really cool because there was a lot of families in attendance. So we got to give that presentation in Spanish and get the word out that way. It's a lot of communicating with the different migrant liaisons from the schools and letting them know that we're here.
So it's a broad outreach. How many staff do you have, and what are the positions that those staff perform in?
Sure. So we're a small team of 5, including myself. So we have a workforce coordinator. His name is Jordan Tomchak. He does the intake process, and he's also in charge of our outreach efforts. And then he also helps with job placement, career exploration, and things like that for some students who maybe come in a little unsure of what they want to do. He runs some career assessments and things like that. And he'll also be helping students find their job when they complete their program.
Good.
And hopefully, depending on what they need, but maybe internship opportunities or job shadowing opportunities. And then we have a health and activities coordinator, which I always say is the fun job of the program.
It would be.
Yeah, she does some really cool stuff. Part of our program, we do encourage physical fitness as part of what's a requirement, 2.5 hours per week. So Abby is in charge of putting those events together. So we go to the gym every single day. We've gone rock climbing, we've gone to play basketball, dodgeball, disc golf, things like that.
Which is there a gym we use?
Yeah.
Which one?
So it's right across the street. We go to Bodify.
Sure.
The school gets a discount.
It's convenient.
Yeah, super convenient, right across the street. And they actually get to go to that one, and there's another one across town if that one works better for them.
Good.
So,
okay.
And then she's also in charge of the service learning component. So a big part of our program is encourage our students to give back, and it's a way to kind of network and gain some work experience as well.
Let's see if we could. Let's drill into that for just a second, then we'll get back. So service learning is something that we at the college have been looking at, and service learning is more for those gen ed students who are moving on to a baccalaureate, but it is different than internships. So tell us a little bit about how service learning works for your program.
Sure.
And I know we've got faculty on. I'd like them to hear what you do.
Sure. So every student is required to do 3 hours of community service per week. And the goal is to try and beef up the resume if they lack work experience. And it also looks great on college applications if they're looking to go to that 4-year institution when they wrap up here. And it's just a good way to network and give back to the community. So what we do, that's Abby's job. So she tries to connect our students with different nonprofits in the area and things like that. So for example, we've helped out at the zoo, the animal shelter. There's I forgot the name of the group, but they put together like care packages for victims of like the earthquake in Haiti and things like that.
Oh, good. Okay.
We have the food pantry on campus. We've also gone to the distribution center and filled the boxes and things like that. So that's kind of the intro level service learning that we do. And then as students get a better feel for what they want to go into and things like that, we try to direct that service learning to what they're doing, right?
That's
what
so
their career
helpful.
goals. Yeah.
So application of things they're interested in.
Yeah, we try to. It can be kind of challenging depending on the major.
Yeah.
But for example, like students in the auto program, they kind of have a cool deal where they're working on community cars all the time.
Sure.
So we count that as their community service. We have a student in the surgical tech program that's going to be doing her clinicals and rotations, and that's giving back as well. Granted, it helps count some of her things for school. But it just kind of varies depending on the student's needs. But the main goal is to get them some kind of experience that they can put on their resume. That's kind of the standard is something you can put on your resume. And then, so 3 hours per week. And then hopefully as they get a little bit more involved with it, they can find something that really fits their career goals and ambitions.
So as some of our gen ed faculty look at service learning, maybe we could point them to Abby and get kind of get a little bit of a head start on what's out there and those kind of things. So I diverted you. So let's go back into those.
No, that's great.
Those programs that you're dealing with.
Sure. And then we have 2 case managers.
Right.
So that, like I said, every student gets a case manager. They can have up to 25 students. So we have 2 case managers that just started a few weeks ago, Nancy Taylor and Angelica Alvarez. And they're great. They are there to make sure that our students are staying on task and providing the support. You know, being new to college can be a stressful time. So I think it's great that those students have someone that they can lean on when things are getting tough. And then the case managers will also connect them to tutoring and things like that to make sure that they're getting the support that they need. And really, it's kind of just taking advantage of the support services already in place at the College of Eastern Idaho. There's tutoring, there's counseling and things like that. So they're really just connectors and problem solvers is how I like to see that.
Well, it is just a gold standard for how we would like to treat students. So you've got a lot of experience in that.
So
what would you're at 35 now? What would you imagine a capacity could be with the staffing you've got now, or what's expected from Job Corps with a site like ours?
Okay, so the most that we can take on with only 2 case managers is 25 caseload max. So
50 would be.
So 50 is the goal. Hopefully by fall of next year, we're at 50. That's what I would love to see. Yeah.
No, I think so. And again, I'm glad we're doing this and we're pushing it out, because I think if some of our students would know that this exists and they fit in that age range, it would be a great opportunity for them. And there's more to there is opportunity for financial support as well. So above and beyond what they could get in Pell Grant and those kind of things, Job Corps can help them out, and depending on what program they're in.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's one of the best perks of the program, right? Because most of our students, being a low-income program, are going to qualify for some grants that's going to cover the cost of tuition and fees, right? But it's those other costs associated with going to college that may not cover, or your grants and scholarships may not cover, right? You mentioned the tools, the computer for the IT program, that's $1,400. The tools can be up to $7,000.
Oh yeah.
And you're expected to have those when you leave that program and you go to get your job. If you don't have those tools, good luck, you know?
Right.
So I think it's crucial that that we provide those services, because they're necessary to be successful in whatever program that may be. And that can be anything from scrubs to, you know, books and supplies, but it's also the mileage reimbursement for especially a lot of our students that are from kind of the outlying counties, now maybe don't live in town, that come from Rexburg, things like that. Gas adds up, and we provide mileage reimbursement, which is a great rate. I believe it's like the state employee rate. That's like 56 cents per mile. And they just have to track that, and they get reimbursed at the end of the month. So yeah, we help with the, you know, educational expenses, but then we help with that other stuff, food too. They can come here and get 3 meals a day in the cafeteria, or they
Wow.
can do grocery reimbursement up to $200 a month, which I know isn't a crazy amount, but every little bit helps. So when you take all of those things, hopefully we're really easing the financial burden.
I'm surprised you're not packed with this. So I've got a feeling that a lot of students may not know how valuable a program this is.
Yeah, I mean, we're really new. We started last fall,
Yeah.
and then like Amanda said before we got started, COVID really limited our ability to get it out into the high schools, and that's starting to loosen up now. So we've been much more active. So I think now that things are looking a little better on the COVID side of things, it'll really help our outreach efforts.
So I think these are just at the community colleges in Idaho. And College of Western Idaho has that residential program that you described, and it has been there quite a while. But the other three of us, North Idaho, College of Southern Idaho, and us, really are new at it. So I imagine you connect with your colleagues at those three, the two other colleges. And
yeah, all the time. We have bi-weekly meetings where we all get together and kind of discuss, how the program's going, things like that. But yeah, it's always nice to work with your counterparts across the state because they see things a little differently and have different ideas on outreach and things like that.
Right. Who does all your accounting? Because if you're doing reimbursements and all of that, it begins to get pretty complicated.
Yes. So luckily we have a great team here. So Janice in the accounting office is just absolutely fantastic. Good. They do a great job of making sure that we, that we're on top of the budget and everything like that. And then the folks out in Nampa who do the reimbursements and things like that are just
so the reimbursements are done external to CEI.
Yep. So we collect everything and we send. Her name is Jean. She's fantastic, and we send it to her every Monday with the grocery reimbursements and then the mileage reimbursement.
Okay.
And then I forgot to mention too, students get a small stipend for being part of Job Corps just for completing the Job Corps requirements and going to class. It's not a whole lot of money, but it turns out to be about like $130 a month. And then so we send that report to her monthly too.
Sure. So what are the high value occupations that either you're seeing or you're trying to encourage students into? So what are those high value programs?
Sure. I think the first one that comes to mind is IT and the cybersecurity stuff. We have three students in there right now. They seem to be really enjoying it. They do some really cool stuff. We have a student that comes in quite a bit and always showing us what they're learning. And then I just think it's great. I mean, as far as like the job placement and job prospects, I think you really can't beat that for something that can be done quickly, where you can start earning a livable wage and, start taking care of yourself. So that's one that we always point our students towards. But some students aren't, really into that. So I think the apprenticeships are a great route. Heavy duty, I've heard nothing but good things about. I met one of the instructors the other day and he's like, man, we have people calling us all the time looking for work. There's not enough people, So I think those fields that have, good starting wages and high demand are something that we always point. Obviously nursing, we don't have any students. We have one student that's getting ready to apply. I think that's a fantastic field, especially here at CEI. The reputation and just kind of the quality of the program is just fantastic. So we always encourage those. And then we have a student in the surgical tech program.
Oh, good.
So good. I think that's a great program. I think they have a really high placement rate and a good starting salary. So those are really the things that I look at are the placement rate and the salary.
Yeah.
Nursing, IT, cybersecurity, and the apprenticeships, of course, I think are great routes. And then we have a lot of students that are looking to get their 4-year degree. So we're just focused on getting their associates so that they can transfer.
See, I was going to ask that. It seems like, and you described this, that Job Corps is aimed a lot at those trades or family wage jobs that a student could get with 2 years of experience at a community college. But how many of your students are on a baccalaureate track?
I would say the majority of them are.
Wow, good.
Yeah, so this semester we got an influx of a lot of general ed students. So I would say, I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head, but I would say it's at least half of them.
Okay, so I guess that is a bit surprising. It's good. It's wonderful that they literally will have no debt as they move on to junior status, whether it's at ISU or any of the other universities. So that's a great program, and they could be in anything, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's what's so cool. And I think one of the things that we need to do with our outreach, because I think we're kind of still, I don't want to say fighting, but have that stigma of what Job Corps is traditionally,
right.
right? That they have to get a trade, or I'm going to be a carpenter or something. And that's fantastic. Those are paying good, good paying jobs, but you can literally do anything here. And if you want to just come here, save some money on your associates, have zero debt, and then transfer to ISU or any of the local or, state colleges, that's a great option too. So we can really help a variety of students. It's not just someone who is interested in the trades.
Yeah, no, that's good to know. So would you turn a student away? Is there a criteria that a student has to meet if the family contribution is too high, or I'm not sure what it would be, but would you turn anybody away that wanted to do this?
Unfortunately, yeah, if they were over income, that would be the main thing, or if there is part of the program where they can't be on like active probation or have more than $500 in fines.
Okay,
so things like that would be the things that would prevent you. But minus those things, as long as you're willing to work and are striving towards something in the future, we can help you out.
Right. Okay, so it is broadly open then to our students, which is really important.
Yeah,
so,
and something to note, sorry, I think it's really important, especially students who may feel, oh, I don't qualify for financial aid because my parents make too much money. Because financial aid does take your parents' income into account, and that's not going to change. However, if a student is over 18 years of age, we look at them as an individual, and so it would be based on their income.
So unless you've just got a crazy job, anybody over 18 probably isn't making a significant amount of salary, and if they are, kind of why are you at school?
Exactly.
So you're probably working anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So you just graduated, you're still living in parents' home, and you're looking to get your 2 years done, and you don't think you're going to qualify because they already told you financial aid it's not going to work out. We can look at your income and we can help cover the cost. So I think that's super important.
Well, it is. What's your relationship to apprenticeship? I think you've got a couple students in apprenticeships.
So that was something fairly new to me when I got here. I was somewhat familiar with the trades. My brother's a pipe fitter, so I kind of knew his journey and kind of just the benefits of him going through that process. Again, no debt, on the job experience while you're getting paid led to some really cool things out of the INL.
Yeah.
So here, we immediately touched base with Matt Bates, who oversees that.
Absolutely.
Just an awesome guy.
He is.
He's always super friendly, and anytime we have students that are interested in the apprenticeships, he's more than willing to come down and we meet with them and we explain how that process works. We've also taken students to the Union Hall in Pocatello. We had a student that was interested in joining the union for the electrical apprenticeship. So we took him down there. We had a great opportunity to meet those folks. So really it's about connecting with Matt, letting them know exactly how that plays out. And the cool thing about the apprenticeship is those classes tend to have open slots. So as if you want to do it, you can do it. And then where the work comes in is finding you that apprenticeship. So that's where, we talk to Matt, and then Jordan will be the workforce coordinator. So you'll have someone that's actively looking for you. But yeah, as far as the apprenticeships, is kind of using the existing knowledge of, the people here who have been doing, CEI has been doing apprenticeships for years.
Oh, yeah.
So it's really leaning on Matt and his team to help us guide our students through that process.
So one of the areas that we're hoping to expand is construction. So construction and trades, and we're dipping our toe in that. Matt has been involved with it. So I imagine that isn't a bad occupation for one of our students in Job Corps to be looking at.
No, I think that would be a great one, especially if your goal is I need to start making money as soon as possible. I understand that there's a shortage of construction workers.
Absolutely. No, there's no question about that.
So I think that would be a great fit. The starting pay is good. And I know Matt has started to implement some courses that is kind of like a pre-apprenticeship, pre-construction course, something like that. So if you're unfamiliar with it, you can take that course to kind of get you up to speed. That would be that. I think that's a great opportunity, especially for those students that need something quickly. I think that's a great route. Yeah, 100%.
So talk a little bit about tutoring and the support that we've got for students. So completion is important. And again, generally at CEI, we're looking at ways to support our students, but as kind of that gold standard with Job Corps, what are some things you're doing to help students be successful?
Yeah, so the case management, I think, plays an extremely important role in that. That daily or that weekly check-in of, hey, how are your classes? How are your classes? But really, it's just leaning on the infrastructure of CEI right now. So the tutoring center is fantastic. They're open days, they're open nights. You can do it via Zoom, and it's a lot of connecting students to that. And then if that doesn't work out for whatever reason, so for example, we had a GED student that worked quite a bit and couldn't come into the tutoring center during that time. And then one of the GED instructors was willing to be a tutor in the evening form. So they would just meet like at 8 o'clock at night and via Zoom, and she would tutor him. So if the existing tutoring center doesn't work here for them, we actually have some funds to find tutoring in the community or a private tutor that could possibly meet their schedule a little bit better. So
Okay. So how important is a high school diploma to the students as they begin here?
Well, I mean, I think it depends. For students that want to get into college, you have to have that or a GED.
Right.
So I think it's important in that route. But if you don't have that yet, and that's what you need to get started, we can help you with that too. So I think it just kind of depends on what you need. But I think for no matter what you're going to go into, having your high school diploma is going to help you. So, but yeah, we help a variety of students. We have some students that are 16 that, traditional high school just wasn't really working for them. And they can come in here. We have a great GED program, the College and Career Readiness. They do a really good job, both night and day options. And depending on where you are, you can get it done in as little as a block. We have one student that came out from high school, kind of struggled, and he's just dominated the GED program. And he's going to finish it in 8 weeks. So,
that is one of the beauties of that, of what we do. And a lot of times high school isn't right for a block of students. Just they don't care about the social aspects of it. And, they're talented, but that isn't the place. And it sounds like you can offer them a variety of really interesting opportunities.
For sure.
And they wouldn't have their high school diploma because they would have dropped out. They didn't find any value in it. So,
and it's my understanding now that the GED is it's equal value. There's nothing less for having a GED. You can get into any college with it. So
exactly.
It's not like a big deal to not have that diploma. Obviously, we encourage students that if you're close to graduating,
just finish it
off. But if the numbers aren't adding up and it's going to take you longer, or if you're just not happy with what's going on, think about CEI and then getting your GED.
Well, a lot of students just make a rapid life choice, which may not be the best in the long run, but you're young and don't always think things through. So you just decide to drop out and go to work at Burger King, and now what? And that kind of outreach could be tricky, I think, to find them. There, Lori Barber talks about trying to locate that kind of student and entice them into the college.
No, that is a tough one. And that's, kind of outreach 101. You need to go to where your population is, right? They're not going to necessarily come to you. So yeah, we that's a question we ask ourselves all the time is, where do we find these kids? Because there's more out there than you would think.
Can you tick off a couple of non-obvious places that you might be looking for that kind of under 18 that has left high school, and there's not a good demographic? I don't know if there's any way you could type them. So where do you go to try to find them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the things we've tried, local churches and things like that.
Oh, okay, good.
The LDS Church has a group that helps people find jobs.
Right.
So we reached out to them, gave a couple of presentations there. We also went and distributed brochures to all the restaurants. We thought, hey, there might be someone in the back.
That's not a bad idea, is it? Because that's the kind of work they probably would end up doing.
So things like that, we put it on the backboard. We've gone to laundromats and things like that.
Right. That's good. Okay.
Emerson is kind of a good route, but that's again not really fitting that. So yeah, we really just try to go out to coffee shops, things like that. I guess when we figure that out, I'll let you know. But we're trying.
Well, no, we need to do that as a college as well, because I think that is a demographic. If mom and dad graduated from ISU and they're both working at the lab, that isn't the kids that we're going to have to worry about. They're going to be fine. But it is coming from broken homes and any number of life issues. That's what this college is built around.
We also reached out to local, I don't know if they're those PSR groups that do psychosocial rehabilitation, case management type stuff.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
We reached out to them. We haven't had too much success, but we're trying a variety of different groups and there's a group over by Fred Meyer that puts on like music and dances for high school age students that we reached out to. So really it's trying to figure out like where they go and just trying to be there.
That's kind of interesting, but in that counseling community, I would imagine one of the things they would talk to a client about is, why don't you think about going back to school and get a skill? And I think a lot of times that would help, help a student put their life back in together and get some kind of regular income and getting up at a certain time. And
that's what's so cool about CEI is there's so many different programs. If you look at what workforce training is doing, like if you just need to up your skill sets a little bit, and it's maybe not like the traditional college setting, but there's a lot of options for all kinds of students for sure.
Well, Fernando, what has COVID done? And we touched on it, but you started right dead center in the eye of COVID, and that's a hard place to build a program. So how do you see it? What did you do then, and what are you doing now that we're a little more sophisticated and working in this world?
Yeah, so luckily, COVID happened and technology became our best friend, of course. We got really good at Zoom meetings. We scheduled open houses via Zoom. It actually, it was a challenge not to be able to get into the school. I think there's that, you can't just beat that face-to-face interaction. You really can't.
No.
But the schools did a good job of trying to still connect their students to resources. So it was a lot of Zoom meetings. It was a lot of reaching out to different groups via email and things like that. But really the saving grace was Zoom. I mean, it almost allowed us in a way, I know this sounds kind of silly, but in a way to be almost more active because you didn't have to drive across town. You didn't have to drive to Driggs to have that meeting.
Right.
And again, we would love to have done that, but it seemed like everyone knew that we were all kind of in kind of extreme situations, and everyone really made an effort to try to provide as many opportunities to do it via Zoom. So we did, like I said, open houses. We put together packets that hopefully were appealing and had the information. But really it was like, okay, well, Zoom, email, what communication tools do we have access to? And we just relied on those heavily.
Yeah. So in student affairs with Mike's group, are there a couple of those advisors or counselors that you connect with regularly and trade ideas?
Oh, for sure. So Justin Esplin, he's doing a great job. They have an outreach calendar that we all kind of contribute to. And so we can see, okay, who's going to this, or does that make sense for us to be there? So that has been absolutely fantastic. We recently kind of changed structure. We were under college and career readiness, and now we're kind of just more under student affairs. And that has really helped as far as the communication. Haley, my supervisor, has been great about connecting me with Justin. And it really was just, okay, where are you guys going? And then bringing us in. And then if we ever, find different events that maybe they didn't have, didn't come across, we invite them as well. So the collaboration with student affairs and recruitment has really improved. And I think it showed with the numbers that we had this fall.
So the important thing, we try not to silo here. We're too new. And, we talked about not siloing career technical and trades from the transfer. And we certainly want to have Job Corps embedded in all of the components of the college as well. And it sounds like we're doing a pretty good job at that.
Yeah. Since I've been here, everyone has been so welcoming and like, okay, how can we help? And that's been really helpful. And I couldn't have done it without the support of CEI. They're the ones who connected us. Hey, you should go to this event, or hey, you need to reach out to this individual. This counselor at this school has some students that I think would help, so it was, Justin and Mike, they've been here for a while.
Oh, yeah.
So it was just kind of relying on the existing knowledge that was already here.
So one of the problems, and this is true across the state, but certainly here, is that go-on rate. And we touched on it a little bit, but maybe this is more of a why question. You've been here your whole life, essentially. And why do you think the go-on rates are so low, either in Idaho or here on the east side? What do you think goes into that? And then we'll talk about some. You're doing a lot of things to correct it, but.
Yeah, I think that's a tough one. I think around here in particular, and and I could be off base, but there's a lot of ways to make a decent living with ag and other fields that don't require, a degree or anything like that. And for some students to come out and start having a little bit of money in your pocket is kind of a game changer, especially if you come from, a low income family. So you have that instant gratification of being able to go work on a farm or go work in ag or something like that, or even in construction, and get, a decent paycheck, as opposed to that, it's going to take 2 years or 4 years, right? Sure. So I think the instant gratification thing doesn't help. And then also it's expensive to go to college and things like that.
It is.
Especially now, I know CEI, and I keep drilling it, and it's super cheap. So this is the place to do it if your main concern is money. And I think I saw something like 92% of students get a scholarship that applies. So
pretty much.
Yeah. So the money's out there, but I think, around here, I think it's kind of, it's a variety of things, but the opportunity to go work, you can go work at Idahoan or Basic American and make 16 starting out, right out. And that's,
sure,
it's not bad. It's not bad.
It's not bad
for the area, and so I think that's the biggest thing, and mainly for that. And I think the cost of attending is kind of daunting.
So here's kind of a question I've always had, and you're dealing with that population that would believe this to be true, but could you make a case that there are people out there who would want to go to college but just can't find a way to make it work financially, or is that just an excuse? Do you think that just about do you think that it truly would be a financial issue that would keep a student from going on to college, assuming they wanted to?
Yeah, I think so. Just little things that we might maybe take for granted, just getting here, transportation can be expensive, childcare.
Yeah.
Childcare.
That's
super expensive. I think, I absolutely think financial, or not even just that, think about the home life. Maybe you don't have a safe place to study, maybe
Sure.
you don't have the money to get a computer. I know CEI just did a great program that if you go to school full time, you got a laptop.
And all of your students have computers, right?
Yeah.
That's important.
It's a loaner that you just use, but they're brand new and they work. But I think there's a lot of unexpected costs that people forget about, like just getting here, books. If you go into IT, you got to buy a $1,400 components to build your PC. If you don't have that, or maybe you plan on getting a $300 Chromebook, and now you realize, I can't do that. I need to buy a $1,400 PC.
Yeah.
For some folks, that's not realistic.
Yeah.
And you can take out the loan to do it, but what if you don't want to do that? So
I think that's a big case, and a lot of students may not want to do that,
Mm-hmm.
but we're continuing to work on the cost of education and those kind of things. It's a shame for someone who wanted to go on to college to say that the real showstopper is money.
And I agree, and I do think there's so many resources out there, and there's so many scholarships if you just take the time to do it.
Sure.
It can be difficult to navigate all that stuff, especially if you're first generation or
Exactly.
you're doing that on your own. I was in that position when I finished high school, and you just do it though, so I think it just depends on this, but it was a little daunting. It was kind of scary to feel like you're fast by yourself and do all that stuff. But
right.
The cool thing about colleges and just, particularly here at CEI, someone will help you through that process, as long as you ask and come seek out the help. So I do think, yes, it's a real thing, but there are plenty of resources to help you get there if you would just do it.
Yeah, you've got to ask.
Yep.
You got to know that asking is the important component, and will help make it work.
I even think CEI does payment plans.
We do,
So,
actually.
that could be a huge thing
we
too.
absolutely do.
Mm-hmm. So there's plenty of ways to get there. It can just seem daunting, I think.
Yeah, no, and that would be true. Well, Fernando, we're kind of approaching the end of this discussion, and what I ask each of my guests as we end is, you've been in leadership roles, and you're certainly in a leadership role now. What are 3 techniques or tips or things that you think about as a leader that you'd like to share with our viewers?
Sure. So some of the things that I like to think lead to good leadership. And I don't know if I do this all the time, Rick, but we try. I think empathy is super important.
Sure, absolutely.
I think that's something, as I've been more in leadership, like it may be the biggest factor. I think being able to relate and have empathy for the population you serve, for your team, I think is critical. And then with that, I think something that's also super important, this might seem a little different, but creativity. You mentioned earlier that we have a structure that we're following, but at the same time, how we deliver these services is largely up to us, right? Within this framework that we're working in.
Right.
So creativity and positivity towards problems and like, hey, how can we make this work? Is one of the perks of working in this field, because what we're doing, I think, is pretty hard, right? When you really think about it, getting young people to get to where they want to go and to be, have a career that's going to be stable, that's a heavy lift. And how we do that, I think the more creative and the more engaging we can be is going to lead to better outcomes. So I think creativity and creating kind of a safe place for those ideas to thrive, where your team feels comfortable bringing up suggestions that maybe are a little outside the box, that they may feel, oh, that's not a good idea. I think you always try to create an environment that, hey, it's okay, we'll bring those up, we'll filter through them, and the good ideas will stick. So I think that's super important. And then another thing, I think it's just super important to be positive. Times get challenging, especially when you're running new programs. And especially sometimes, Rick, when I'm sure a lot of the departments here do, but when you see students struggling, it kind of hurts, but you got to remain positive. You got to remember what your role in this process is. Right. And that, sometimes there are going to be bumps in the road, and you can't let that really get the team down. And it's more about an opportunity to learn, and then hopefully, do some creative problem solving to help our students get where they need to go. Right.
So Fernando, those are great tips. And one of the things, and I remember when we interviewed you, and it's only been a year, and we're interviewing somebody for a position that we didn't know anything about. And just our discussion here for the 45 minutes really, I think, would let all of our viewers know, and hopefully this is pushed into the community. And a lot of times we get trustees to look at this, and from a broad perspective of the college, you've been just a great fit here. You clearly have a vision for Job Corps, and I guess we couldn't be happier than the work you and your team are doing, and certainly the whole region is benefiting from this.
Well, thank you, and we're super happy to be here, and thanks to CEI for being so supportive and helping us achieve our goals. So can't do it without student affairs and everyone helping us. So.
Exactly. So again, thank you for spending some time with all of us.
Thank you. I appreciate it. This is fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, CEI and our viewers, I wish you a good weekend as we approach into that. And I just want to thank you for watching, and go ahead and point this interview out to any student who might be interested in Job Corps. I think there are a lot of hidden gems in what Fernando and his team are doing. So part of this, the reason to record this is later. Feel free to push this out, and let's see if we can get you up to about 50 in another 6 months.